Okay.
Tony's got a jaunty tilt to his table in the background.
I've got a jaunty tilt to my camera, that's why.
That would make sense.
I was going to say, the second we went
I
live,
can't be asked to fix that.
I just hear a voice of a child in the corridor outside my room, and I'm like, you couldn't make this shit up. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our 2023 painting competition. I'm gonna give them a minute to tell us in chat that they can hear us and everything is good before we
are working.
Yeah,
I am drinking English supermarket value iron brew because we can't get proper iron brew. Yes, we can actually, but it's a lot cheaper.
That sounds horrible, Mark. What happened to you? Who's torturing you?
It's actually not that bad. As far as value drinks from supermarkets go, it's surprisingly not shit.
I'm drinking Vocation Life and Death Classic IPA, which is a nice little craft beer, and it's all right, actually. I bought it from the co-op.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, I'm good. I think they're saying in chat that they can hear us okay. Cool. Okay, so what we've got here is there was 27 unique entries this year. I was going to say, I don't think I had to reject anyone this year, so that was good. And because last year I had to reject a few people because like they just sent me a random photo with no proof that they painted the model. So it was great. Thank you everybody that made the effort to enter. Thank you everybody that like gave us a good entry. So the plan for the stream is we're going to run through all 27 entries. There's 2 pictures of each. So I'm not going to be judging. What we're going to do is at the end of all 27, Mark is going to tell his favourite 3. And then Tony is going to tell us his favourite 3. And we're going to roll a random number generator, 1 through 3. Mark and Tony have not seen the names, so I have like a notepad file on my computer with like, they only see like entry 1, like the numbered entries. So basically there's no favoritism or anything like that. They don't know who painted. They don't know. So they're picking 3 blind. Both of them are going to pick 3 blind, and then one of those are going to win. And that's going to be as simple as that. And if you win, I'll send you an email to the email address you sent me, your email with the pictures, and once you reply and confirm it, I'll send you a $50 Games Workshop card wherever you are. So if it's simple as that, it saves me trying to post stuff across the world. And last year, everybody did get their entries last year, but like one guy in Germany had to wait like 3 months. So no one wants to deal with that. I don't want to have to deal with the German postal service again. So digital gift cards.
Thanks to the person who donated the prizes last year. Brett, you're fucking awesome if you're watching and listening to this.
Yeah, big shout out to Brett, actually. Brett has donated the prizes, I think 3 times now, actually. This might be the 3rd year. So Brett is a member of our community, and he has been since almost the very start. So thank you so much for making this happen each year, I guess. Long may it continue. He actually, the deal is he sends me $100 on his birthday. It's like his birthday present to the Blood Angels Commander channel. What a nice guy he is. So, cool. Okay, let's get into it. And please don't say in the chat if it's your entry, because I'd like it if nobody, like Tony and Mark shouldn't know whose entry is whose, right?
I will get rid of the chat so I can't see any chat. So if you do say it in there, I will not know.
Well, you're warned.
I've done the same.
Okay, cool. So I will be keeping us up on the chat tonight.
Yeah.
We got loads
Neither
of
of
people
us
in
can
here.
see the chat.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And if you do enjoy the stream, it's not Brett from the Plastic Crackheads. It is Brett Anderson, I believe. He is he's been a member for the longest time, and he's had a couple of different names on YouTube. I'm not entirely sure what his most latest handle is on YouTube, because YouTube's changed everyone's handles recently, right?
Every so often, yeah. I'm not entirely sure what his current nick is, but yeah.
Cool. Okay. So, yeah, Robert's here, Reziel's here, Juan's here, Brock's here, Jordan's here. It's been like a month since I put these together in a document, so I actually don't remember whose entry is whose. So it's completely impartial. I don't remember what I had for dinner. I mean, I get 2 kids. So all right, let's get into it. Entry number 1. We get 2 pictures here. Very similar pose actually on this one. This is Chapter Master Ralderon. On a scenic base, yeah. All right, so I guess what will happen is if you guys have comments, just jump on in. We'll spend a couple of minutes on each one, and then we'll move on.
He looks really cool. I'd have loved to have gotten some slightly clearer pictures of him and his armor zoomed in on some of the detail. But yeah, he looks like he's really well done.
I think he is perfect as that new Primaris champion. New book actually. Look, if you can't get the made to order guy, he's basically the same pose, right?
Yeah,
Holding out the
spend
sword
80
like that.
quid on a Forge World resin model instead. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
One of
But he's a good
the
model.
resin models for that matter, but still, it's a beautiful model. It's really well painted. Nice use of true metallics and well highlighted all the way through. I quite like the little bit of blood leaking out of that hand. It's quite nicely done. It looks like blood for the blood god or something. I'm not sure. Or it could just be a load of gloss varnish in there. So it's really clean, crispy detail, well highlighted. So yeah, well done, whoever that is.
I also like how he puts on the blood on the sword, actually.
I think it's sculpted on.
Oh well, then I guess it's maybe the blood for the blood
Still
god
painted
paint.
well though. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the head or the arm or whatever it is on the base. I'm not sure if that's sculpted on, but the effects of coming off of that are also very cool.
Okay,
It
the highlighting
definitely
in the
looks like
faces.
part of the model, which is the key point there.
Absolutely.
Okay. Number 2 was the squad of Assault Terminators, Blood Angels Assault Terminators. The kit that you said that you hate, Donny, because it's got too many finicky bits on it, right?
It has. It's got too much sculpted detail and not enough room for me. But that's my opinion. I know lots of people love this kit.
The one that I bought brand new last night, it was meant to be building on stream with you, John, and wound up making the teleport Homer, and that's it. That's all I got done. It's great. The gold is really well done. The gold pops great. It shines out gorgeously across the dark red background. Very nice.
I like the maroon flavor he's got going on, and also I try and do that lightning on Thunder Hammers. That's not easy to do, and make it actually look like lightning.
No, and it's very cleanly done. It's not scratchy at all. I think the white eyes pop quite nicely.
Yeah, they definitely
I've not seen that
stand
before.
out. And they're almost glowing at you, don't they?
Does this kit have a goblet on the teleport Homer?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
It actually comes modelled with a goblet on the
Helmet? Yeah.
Oh wow!
I didn't notice. I thought it was just a weird little bit of strange sculpting on the teleport Homer until I saw this picture and went, "Oh, it's a goblet. Oh yeah, so it is."
Okay, I mean that's cool.
So yeah, it's nice and cleanly done. I think the contrast settings on your camera are slightly off though, because you've got a bit of a funny tint to things, which is coming out slightly green. But it's quite cleanly done. And like the lightning bolts, I like the darker look of these, and the tufting is quite well done as well. It would have been nice to see something written on those banners on the shields. That's the only thing I would say there, because at the moment you've just got the scroll work, but there's nothing on the scroll.
That's true. Yeah, that's finicky to do, though, man. That's like a.
It is finicky to do. It's something. Sorry.
Can you do that well?
Well, I don't know about well, but I certainly do it. I've got a cheating tip for those though.
Is that use a black fine liner and just scribble?
Yeah, we just use a pen if you're a bit unsure.
Yeah, I was thinking like a fine, like a Sharpie maybe would be the.
So the ones that everyone uses, I'll say everyone uses. The one that people often use are these micron fine liners.
Yeah, micron fine liners.
They're very, very. They'll write on more or less anything, and they've got a really fine nib. They're quite good for writing text and things like that.
Yeah, do you want to bung the link to them in like the comments afterwards?
I can do. Yeah, I can find them somewhere.
Yeah, put it in the Discord. All right, next up is our Chief Librarian Mephiston, and this is a pretty fun model to paint. I like how he did the cloak. I had quite a bit of fun with this cloak as well, because I guess you can almost get like 3 or 4 different tones of red into the cloak. So I thought this, because I haven't painted that many Primaris characters. I mean, I'm technically still waiting for my second one to turn up, huh? So
it's beautifully well done. I just have one thing about it that bugs me ever so slightly, a tiny thing, which I imagine Tony probably would go mention as well. You could really do with either a little drop of black paint or a dual barrel on this one. I think that would it just drags my eye towards the end of the barrel. But other than that, the rest of it's painted incredibly well.
Yeah, I really like the folds in the cloak. You've got some really good contrast. You go from really dark red to a really bright one, and it looks very saturated. And it's not come across as one of the difficulties with highlighting red is it's very easy to go orange or pink, and you've not done that. So that's really nice to see.
The sword is good. The chapter symbol's good.
Yeah,
the yellow piping around the chest stands out nicely.
I love the yellow piping. That's absolute classic. That is.
You would. The only way you'd love it more if it was hazard stripe piping.
Yeah. So yeah, it's well done. Yeah, it's pretty well done. My only criticism is there's a couple of bits that are a little bit messy on the highlighting, on the chest area and on the black of the cloak. So you could just try and either blend those in a little bit more or be a little bit finer with those.
Yeah, I think a couple of bits on the cloak stand out that they could have been done. But then sometimes, the camera can pick up all those gnarly little details. So,
and it's blowing it up bigger than real life as well, which is always an issue.
All right, next up, another Mephiston, and on this one, we've even got teeth.
We have.
How the frick you paint teeth, I don't know.
With difficulty and possibly a magnifying lens or something.
A very small brush, I think, is the...
I mean, this is fucking stunning. This is a gorgeous model.
Yeah, this is
so well done.
The lightning on this...
Can you want to show us the bigger one?
I was going to say, is there something you can pick out that's wrong? Because
so this is an absolutely fantastic model. I really like the little bit of freehand. I think the face is superb, really, really well done, and that very subtle OSL on both the gun and from the little lights around the back of the head are really, really impressive.
The shimmer down the sword's amazing.
Yeah, the non-metallic on the sword I quite like. So the only places I could offer any kind of criticism really for it, some of the red armor you could do with pushing maybe the chest armor one step further with your highlight, and the non-metallic gold, it looks like you're using the Richard Gray recipe there. Maybe just a little bit more of the top tone and a little bit less mid-tone, because you've got quite a lot of mid-tone in there and it's bringing it back towards brown a little bit from gold. So maybe just push the highlight just that little bit further and make those white or final highlights just that little bit wider, would sell it as a little bit more reflective. But I'm being absolutely nitpicking. This is a beautifully done model.
I love the purple.
That freehand is far better than anything I could do.
Oh, that freehand makes me not want to paint again. The trim on the
never
cloak,
managed to get my line straight. They always end up wonky.
I was going to say, the trim on the cloak, both the upper trim on like the blue part of the back of the cloak and the bottom of the cloak, that's freehand, that trim, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what's so impressive. It's getting that nice and straight and getting it lined up so that it doesn't look weird is really fucking hard. For me, that's the absolute highlight of this model. It might only look like a little bit of it, but that's done really, really well to be that well integrated.
Yeah, no, that's a brilliant paint job. Okay, next up, I guess probably after this video finishes, I'll post like all the numbers and the entries at the bottom in the description. So if anyone wants to see who painted it afterwards and speak to them in Discord or anything like that, I'll make sure I'll add that to the video description once we've picked the winners. All right, number 5 is a Redemptor Dreadnought, and Redemptor Dreadnoughts are cool. I have 3 of them. And they're even cooler now that they're immune to they're immune to 1 damage weapons.
Or will be in a week. I looked at this and I thought, that looks really pretty. Yeah, I'll look at that. And was about to click on to the next one. And then took a few moments more and looked at the pictures in a little bit more detail and zoomed in on everything. And the amount of little details in here and the chips, the weathering on the transfers, the little metal edges around the fists, the plasma glow on it, every little detail on there is really well done. The gradations of the red, it grew on me more and more the more I looked at it.
Yeah, this one feels like really it is actually battle worn. What was this? He's used a Blood Angels Terminator thing and added it to the rocket pods or something. I wasn't really sure what that was.
That's a little banner thing on top of the sanguinary ancient banner. That is.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So it's just like what? It's just attached to the back of the rocket pods to give the
it's
rocket
just
pods
a
little wings.
couple of little wings things that normally sit on top
Why
of the
not?
back
I
of the
love it.
itself.
I love making the models more like your own. That's what I love. So yeah.
Little touches rather than going overboard. Yeah, I agree with that.
Shit. Hold on, let me close my messages so you don't hear my messages. Okay, Tony, what do you think?
So this is really impressive. I think the weathering is superbly done. It's all in logical places. There's no sort of weird patches of weathering where you wouldn't get any weathering. I really like the hazard stripes. They're beautiful. And I know my feelings towards hazard stripes. And there's a little bit of freehanding in that on here that's also extremely well done.
On his
this
right
is
shoulder
to me,
pad. Yeah.
This is what Grimdark should be. Grimdark is not an excuse for bad painting. It's weathered, it's worn, it's very well done. I'm going back. I have got a couple of criticisms, but nothing really major. It would have been nice to get a proper front-on picture rather than the two side views. Although I can see why you've done it, so I can see these the painting on the shoulder pads, which are really well done, and some of the highlight placement for where you've gone. You're pushing more towards that orange, but for example, on the front of the sarcophagus, it's in the middle of that bit, sort of, but not really symmetrical. And that's light doesn't quite act in that way, and I find that a little bit distracting. So it's a minor criticism, and it's just on that highlight placement is not quite there. But like I say, I'm absolutely nitpicking on a phenomenal looking model, beautifully done.
Yeah, the weathering on this one is next level. Like
it's really impressive.
Yeah, this was one of my favorites, but I think that's because I love Redemptor Dreadnoughts.
I love Hazard Stripes, which kind of,
and you love Dreadnoughts.
And I love Dreadnoughts. And Dreadnoughts. Me there a little bit there.
True. All right, next up we've got a Phobos captain. Was it a Reaver captain or Phobos captain? I actually don't.
No, it's a Phobos lieutenant.
That's the one. Thank you.
Because he's got the knives and stuff. He's very cool. He's very solidly done. He's a model I'd be proud to have on the tabletop. My eye gets drawn ever so slightly to the mold lines on his right arm, which I'd have loved to have seen maybe smoothed down a little bit more before painting him. But aside from that, the quality of painting is wonderful.
I didn't even notice the mold line until he said the Phobos kits are really notoriously bad for mold lines. But yeah, it can sneak through. It's easy to get too far and realize you've got one. Yeah,
and all mine have them for models that I play with because I don't.
There's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I really like this model. I think it's well posed on the rock that's nicely blended into the base. I like the deeper tone that you've gone more for with the red. It looks like you've used a bit of underpainting on there to get that effect and to get your shading through, which is not bad at all. It pushes up to red. It doesn't go orange or pink, which I rather like. My major criticisms are the same as Mark's. So you've got a few mold lines on there, and they do draw the eye a little bit. The other one it's another case of we've got purity seals and banners, but we've got nothing written on them. They're just blank. So it would have been nice to see even something really simple on there, like some little squiggles or something, just to add a little bit of detail on there. But otherwise, it's a nice, clean model.
Yeah, I like it a lot. If you've never done purity seals before, then like, did you watch a tutorial when you started doing them for the first time, or did you just wing it?
I winged it to begin with, the same as most people do. But there are lots of really good tutorials out there. If you can find it, I think there's a channel, not Darren Latham or something. Darren Latham did before he went back to Games Workshop, did a nice tutorial on them. But the classic way is the same way they used to put in the old heavy metal books and painting books that Games Workshop used to produce, which would be building up your color, just like you've done here. And then it's just a matter of painting little dots and lines with a darker color. I generally find using a dark brown rather than a black works better, because if you use a black, it can be a bit stark and look a little bit on top of the model. Whereas if you use a nice dark brown, contrast paints are brilliant for this. Something like a Cygor brown, it will blend in a little bit more. It's only got to be a few little squiggles and that.
Yeah.
And that will really bring up your purity seal, make it look a little bit more realistic.
Okay.
Or interesting.
Next up, we have a very alternative themed Sangre Guard. These are purple Sangard. But they're beautiful nonetheless. The wings are very cool.
I'm not 100% sold on the purple personally, but that's more an aesthetic choice than anything else. It's well done. I love the wings, and I do like the swords. I think they're nice choices in those.
Yeah, the blending on the swords, especially the axe head, is very nice. But it looks like great detail has been taken on these wings, because I know that I dry brush my wings, and this looks much better than what I do with my wings.
The swords are really good. I really like them. You've properly taken the kind of sanguinary side of the Carmine weapons to heart there, and I think that looks really, really good. You've got a nice little bit of shading on the wings, which is very well done and very clean. I like to see that. The metallic purple, it's a choice. I think it's quite cool. The only thing I would like to see is a little bit more shading on that, because the purple is cool, but it's a little bit flat. So maybe mixing in either some sort of really dark silver with that, or maybe pushing towards the purple side of it a little bit more, just to add a little bit of shading, especially on, I know people aren't going to spend much time looking at the backs, but you've given us a picture of the back, so that's why I'm looking at it. Especially around the back and the detailing around the back of the legs and things. It could do with just going in there and darkening it down just a bit to add a little bit of contrast on there, because it looks a little bit flat at the moment.
On the other hand, the purple main colour choice is just going to mean that they are very unique.
Nobody's done anything like this. I think it's wicked.
Yeah, really, I like them a lot, actually. I mean, I imagine it's a successor chapter, and he has written some stuff on some of his on the banner on the guy right in the middle here.
Yeah. To be honest, it's the swords that keep drawing my eye, and that's exactly what it should be.
Yeah, the swords
really, really impressive.
Very cool. Okay, next up we move on to Death Company. It was only a matter of time before we saw some Death Company, right?
Yeah, it'd have been disappointing if there wasn't any.
Yeah.
Obviously, the most standout part on that, not necessarily, obviously, to me, is the little crackling lightning effect that he's got going on around the Thunderhammer. I thought that was very clever, very nice. I like seeing stuff like that, a little bit of 3D rather than the more traditional painting some lightning bolts on that you tend to see people try a fair bit of. But no, very cool, very striking.
Yeah, I think he must. I don't know who did this entry, but I think he must have tried to cut it onto a white background, and it seems like it's just the camera. There's a glare coming off the camera, right? You can see it on the bases. You can see a lot of bad armor, which I think hurts the quality of the photo.
It's a little bit out of focus, isn't it?
Yeah,
which doesn't help there. I love the kind of old school aesthetic with the red weapons. I think they look great. I think the crackly effect around the Thunderhammer is really cool, really unique. And I like the way you put them all on rocks and bits of cork or whatever, just to bring them up to the same sort of height as your Primaris, which I think is quite subtly done. But it's really going to make them look good on the tabletop. The basing is really, really well done. My only real criticisms with it is it's a little bit messy in places. Maybe practicing a little bit of brush control will tidy it up just a little touch there. And like John says, you've gone with quite a glossy finish, and I think you've got a lot of glare, which is kind of blowing back the picture a little bit, making it quite hard to spot details. And I think bringing the brightness down a little bit might help us.
But the flip side is the contrast between the really deep black and the red and the gold in there does come through. I do quite like that.
Glossy black always looks great.
Yeah. Okay. Number 9. It was only a matter of time, huh? Here's our first Dante.
Excellent. As it should be. Different choice on the head. Obviously, he's chosen to showcase and highlight the little heat glow coming through the melter. What veins are they? Vents, whatever they are. Yeah. No, looks really cool. Look very solid Dante. Be absolutely proud to have it in my gaming table.
Yeah, it's nicely done. I think the white with the blue is very clean. I think the kind of marbling lightning effect on the axe is extremely well done. overall, it's very, very clean. A lot of care has been taken with the placement of the brush and the highlights, things like that, which is really, really nice to see.
He made his own gaming stand for it, I guess, right? Or his own stand.
Sorry.
Yeah, he's put it on his own base.
Put it on its own base, which looks really nice. So yeah, again, only criticism really here is a little bit of contrast. It'd be nice to see the gold's a little bit flat, so maybe bringing in some darker bits and some lighter bits to add a bit to those shapes, and we'll bring it up just to that next step. But overall, it's a really clean finish, and I really like that.
I also noticed something that was a problem on my Dante, which is there's a join point on his inside right leg, which is really difficult to clip off and make the inside of his calf look smoothly rounded like the rest of the Artificer armor. And you haven't quite managed to smooth that away perfectly here, and I only spotted it because it annoyed me so much on my model, I must confess.
I'm glad you're here. I mean, I'm gonna get my Dante next year, I think, at this point.
I've got mine, but I still haven't painted him or built him.
Okay. Next up, we have Centurions. And I'm actually kind of excited for Centurions for 10th edition. And these guys look banging. These are all obviously close combat Centurions with some sort of crazy variant on hazard stripes on the drills. It's like inverted vertical hazard stripes, which I didn't know was a thing, but I kind of love it.
They look solid. They look great. They're good Blood Angel colours. You got the black and the gold standing out. A little bit of yellow for the extra colours. I can't really see any faults with these, to be honest. They look really well done.
Yeah, I really, really like these. The color scheme is really simple, but it's really clean and really crispy. Yeah. You've got nice thin highlights that look absolutely stellar. You've gone quite old school with the colors as well. I love the yellow and black. I think they look absolutely fantastic. The gold is nicely highlighted, really, really crispy. Really like that as well. The yellow, nicely shaded down. You've not tried to overdo it with any highlights or something like that. That's made them look a bit weird. No, these are nice and clean. And I think you've done a lovely job with that. Again,
at first glance, they might look a bit basic, but that's just because they're just like understatedly done with the highlights and the cleanliness of the paint job.
And I like that. It is a fairly, you've not gone overboard with detailing and things like that. This is a nice, really clean, really well executed paint job, which I really like seeing. In fact, the only thing I could really criticize with it was I think some of the black areas could have done with a little bit of highlighting, and it was the skulls on the base. They look like you've rushed the skulls a little bit there because they look a bit painted white and washed. And I think that for such amazing models, maybe just putting a little bit more time into the basing would highlight it and just sort of show them off just that a little bit more, because these are really, really stunning. I really like that a lot. I'm going to steal your color scheme, to be honest. I've got some of these paint.
I was going to say I love these Centurions. Okay, let's move on to number 11. This is a Dante on a Goblin Green base, or is that Goblin Green? Looks close.
Goblin Green with some flock.
With some flock. So you get bonus points for Goblin Green with some flock. Would have been better if it had been a blue helmet, but whatever. We can assume that. I love this Dante. He looks very like cinematic, I guess. The gold for me really works, and that's kind of how I imagine Dante in my mind.
Yep, I'll agree with that. Nice choice of purple for the loincloth robe in there is good. Again, I can't help but have my eye drawn to that little bit on the inside calf. Again, that's just the personal thing that annoyed me when I was trying to clip it off the sprue. Yeah, it looks great. Looks an absolutely solid classic Dante.
What colour did you do your loincloth?
I haven't yet.
Okay. What about you, Tony? You painted Dante yet?
No, I've got one, but I haven't had a chance to paint him yet.
Okay.
He's on my list.
What do you think of him?
I think this is a beautifully crisp paint job. I love Goblin Green bases. I think they look smashing. So The axe is really nicely done. You've gone with a kind of blue effect on there, which I think looks really nice. The armor is crispy and clean, well highlighted. The white is really well done. It's again a little bit like the last one. The bit's letting it down a little bit is that base. It looks a little bit like you've rushed the helmet on that Blood Angels helmet on the base there, and it's a bit flat. It almost looks a little bit like a clear paint over an underpainting shading thing. And the Goblin Green flock, I love Goblin Green and flock, but it'd just be nice to tie that into the rock a little bit more. Maybe if you're going to have it as a sort of old looking, so that the grass has grown back around it, maybe bring that grass up it a little bit, because at the moment it's a very stark change from the green to that grey, and just something to go in between would just blend those things a little bit better together. And then the loincloth, I love the purple, but I think it could do with bringing it up just one more stage with your highlights, because at the moment you've got
possibly
really dark,
touch too dark. Yeah, maybe
you've got really dark recesses, which is cool. But it's looking at the moment like you've really heavily washed that. And if you're going to do that, maybe bring the purple back in a little bit.
Yeah.
So just go back over the base color a little bit. Just bring that purple back. It's made it look a little bit desaturated, which when you've got such a saturated base and gold armor in that, makes it fade away a little bit more than it perhaps should.
Apparently the loincloth should be a rich purple to represent Dante's high rank.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Okay. Next up, we have a death company who look like they are kind of dead already.
Degenerated.
Lamenters. You don't see many of them. I haven't got the patience to paint that many checks.
No, me neither. And what's the guy? Is that Heavy Thunderhammers? I don't know those Thunderhammers.
They're third-party Thunderhammers. They're not
Third party.
GW. They're
Okay.
big enough to be the Death Watch style heavy Thunderhammers, but
I was going to say, yeah. Time out. Only official GW stuff on stream, you know. No, I'm joking.
yeah, right. Done with Primaris, done with jump packs, lovely little third-party vampire-y looking heads. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very characterful. Love them. They're great.
And what about what's up with the bases? I wasn't really sure about the bases on these guys.
I've seen those before. So many years ago, when Blackstone Fortress came out, Midwinter Minis did a tutorial on these kind of like glowing floor tile bases,
like Alien Tron Expanse
kind of effect.
Style
Yeah, because he thought it looked, and to be fair, it does look cool. And I know it really well because I also copied the Midwinter Mini system and I did it for my Blackstone Fortress a few years ago, because it's quite a simple technique. You just smooth it off really nicely, and then it's just geometric lines with a bit of a blue and white glow. So, and I think it looks great here.
Okay.
Especially for the idea of sort of boarding action and stuff. I know you can't take jump packs in there. I thought the blend on that sword particularly was really well done, and I really liked that. I think the black is nicely done. It's nice and crisp, the highlights. There's a couple of slips with the paint, which I think lets it down just a touch. Could maybe do with cleaning up, especially when you've got such fantastic checks on the other side. Things like getting the Saltaire sort of crosses on the shoulder pads, maybe neaten those up just a touch, would be beneficial. And I feel like the red chest eagles are cool, but I want to see a little bit more to them. Maybe a highlight on them, or maybe a bit of shading, because they're a little bit flat at the moment.
Yeah,
but I'm nitpicking because this is a cool design on a cool model.
I love the idea that Death Company here have degenerated a little bit. And the showmanship you've gone on to doing the little sort of landscape in the background as well.
They've almost gone full Strigoi, haven't they? It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I don't know where you got those heads, but I want those heads. They look wicked.
Yeah, they look like maybe like orcs from Lord of the Rings or something. Honestly, maybe.
Well, they remind me of
some form of
fantasy battle
county thing. Yeah,
fantasy battle Strigoi, which was like the inhuman vampires they used to do.
Okay, let's move on to entry number 13, which is almost halfway, and this is Mephiston, but zombified. Goth Mephiston. Okay, I thought it was zombie, but yeah,
it might be zombie. I don't know. Possibly a little bit too vampire-y. Really cool. Love it. The whole sort of like the black and white with red being the only color in it is something that we've seen a few times and has been shown a few times on the internet since his Mephiston model came out, and they did the whole Blood Angels movie in black and white, except for the red, which was the color for it. It looks really cool. He's so incredibly striking, very characterful, got a load of personality to him. Yeah, brilliant. He's great.
I was going to say, I don't know many people that made Mephiston with like the gloved hand, but on this variant of it, it really works, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I did the glove hand as well. I prefer it to the plasma pistol.
Okay.
See, I thought most people were going to be doing it with the gloved hand, which is why I chose to do mine with the plasma pistol.
Well, I love that old artwork with the licking the blood off his fingers sort of thing.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, it's fair. Nice cracking on the leather on his glove there. Yeah.
Yeah, very neatly done. I really like this model. I thought the blending on the cloak was superbly done. It's really, really smooth on that red, going all the way down to an almost quite cold, maybe corn red sort of colour. There's a little bit purple in there. And I think that's really nicely done. I love the colour palette. I think that's beautiful. I'm not totally sold on the kind of mixture of NMM and metallics on the same model, but it's a cool effect. I've not really seen that done before. I think it fits the base really, really well. Yeah, I'm really like this. That cloak's really something special.
Colouring
the only thing I feel
the face quite a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, the face is brilliantly done. The only thing I think lets it down just a touch is the black on the cloak, especially on the back. I just think it could do with a little bit more to it. Maybe a little bit of freehand in the corner or something. The highlights on it are quite wide, but they do look quite stark. I think that's been emphasized by the photo a little bit as well, because you've used quite a glossy finish and you've got quite a lot of light reflecting on it.
I was going to say, some of that I think is the camera, but I mean, sometimes there's not much you can do about that.
But maybe blending those in just a little bit more wouldn't hurt the model. And then, yeah, something in that corner of that cloak, because it just looks a little bit too plain. But if this is the aesthetic you've gone with your whole army, it's going to look properly scary on the tabletop.
Oh, God, yeah.
And that's really special.
Yeah, I'd love to see a whole army painted like this. Okay.
Yeah,
move on to our... I was going to say, I had to think who this is. This is a Sanguinary Priest, but with wings on a jump pack, which is not something we see very often because he doesn't have wings. But here's one with wings. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, he's good. I made a massive mistake with mine, which is I glued it together before painting. So the fact that you've managed to do the painting on the little things dangling in between the fold of his cloth is more than I managed to do. So props to you for that. But then
this
very much because I don't.
Yeah, I made a mistake as well.
Painting things that Tony definitely does. The white is really nicely done. It's very crisp. It's highlighted and shaded quite well. Yeah, great model. Would be proud to have him. Like the little sort of glossy swirl effect I can see going in on the blood inside the chalice as well.
I just realised as well, he's cut the top off the medic packs and he's stuck them to the jump packs, because normally if you put the jump pack on him, you lose those sort of apothecary bits off the top. So it's cool he managed to preserve those. I never noticed that before. But
maybe makes the backpack a bit busy with the jump and the wings and the lights, perhaps. Maybe that's personal taste.
I love the white. I think the white is a really difficult colour to get any interest in, and you've done a spectacularly good job of doing that. I think the conversion is really clean and really neat. I think that's something that's nice to see as well. I think you've done a really good effect on the hair. That's quite nice. You've got a nice... It's difficult to do a kind of blonde hair without it looking too yellow, and I think you've done a good job of that here. I think the armor is really the highlight of this model. And also the base. You've done a really good job on that base. Those rocks look really natural. You've got a little bit of green in there, and it's just all blended together very, very nicely, which I like to see. Criticisms wise, I'm not a big fan of the red on the cloak. I think where you've got your highlight placement isn't quite natural enough. You've got kind of big areas of the darker color, which isn't really how light works. And I think that detracts a little bit from that. So maybe just making those shaded areas just that little bit smaller would make that look a little bit more natural and a little bit more more real. But again, I'm nitpicking. It's a really cool model, and I think you've done a great job.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least someone's here nitpicking, because then everyone can take what they've learned and bring an even better entry next year. Okay, we move on to our third Dante, I think, of the night. This guy has a fire axe.
Second, I think. No,
Second
or third. No, you're right. Third.
Third.
There's quite a few Dantes, aren't there?
Yeah. So this guy's rocking like a fire axe. And
yeah, love the Magmarax effect there. Very cool. Yeah, he's really nice Dante.
He's got some sort of blood entrails on his cloak.
Is that what it is?
I wasn't sure what it was.
Whether it's been dipped in gore or something on the bottom, if that's what the effect meant to be there is. I'm not sure about that personally. I could see why that would be a thing.
I guess his cloak gets mucky when he purges Xenos.
Drags it through the dirty Tyranid entrails. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Or wipes his axe clean with it. Yeah.
The gold is nice. I can't quite tell if it's lighting or if it's well highlighted, but it looks really, really cool to me. Yeah, good Dante.
So looking over this one, I like the molten effect on the axe. That's really well done. I think the blood effect is quite cool on the base.
Yes. Yeah, good point. The way that it looks like it's a sort of like wet patch of blood on there, and there's a little bit of sand or ash or something that's fallen on top of it. I do like that.
One thing I'm not so keen on is the sand over the top of that helmet, because it looks like you've sanded the model before you've sprayed it and you've painted it, and the helmet's now got sand all over it, and you've just sort of dry brushed your metallic over it, and now it's looking a little bit strangely pitted, and I'm not quite sure what you were going for there. If you were going for sort of really old and rusty, then maybe a bit of rust or effect in there or something, because I'm not quite sure. That's a funny helmet there. Overall, the model is nicely done. I think the white areas are very clean. Your painting generally is very clean. You've not got any sort of major slips or anything like that, which is nice to see. It's very well highlighted up, as Mark said. You've got nice definition in the panels and things like that. I would say that they've got a little bit too much texture in your paint, I think, especially on that gold. Maybe thinning it out a little bit to get a little bit more a little bit less texture and a little bit smoother would benefit the overall model a little bit. But again, I'm nitpicking, and overall, this is a really cool Dante.
I like perfect. Zachary says this one needs his barrel drilled, but I mean, I disagree with you, you heretic. I shall not drill any barrels. All right, number 16. I actually don't know what model this is. Is this the Emperor's Champion?
It's the Emperor's Champion, yeah.
The new one. Done up with a storm shield and to look blood angel-y. Yeah, it looks cool. The shield looks really nicely done. I like the contrast on the colours on there. I think you've put some little scroll work, or whether it's a transfer on his chest there to make him look more ornate. Very nice little touch. Do like that. Yeah, this guy's a really imposing champion. A lot of spirit to him. Like it. Tony?
My thought is, I feel like you could have just maybe done something more with the sort of loincloth / chest piece, because that's quite a big area flat. Yeah. But that's just what I'm pulling away from it.
It is a little bit plain on the chest and things and the loincloth. It does look like there's some sort of possibly some sort of gold transfer and writing on that on the chest, but it's very, very faint, and it's just not come across in the picture. And then with the loincloth as well, it's a little bit too flat. And then that means that the darker bits are very, very stark to it. Again, it'd be nice to see some writing on the scroll work and on the purity seals. But overall, it's a clean paint job, and it's a neat conversion. So it's nice. I like it. Yeah.
So was there some sort of custom? Is that the base he comes on, or is that some sort of custom base?
No, it's not.
That'll be a custom base, I'm fairly sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, it's fiery blue fire red Gilliman, I guess.
Such a shame we're not going to be able to use him for at least the duration of the index, as far as we know so far, anyway. Yeah, very cool. The red is really bright and popping. You're obviously not going to doubt that the red and gold in there is leaving no doubt as to the affiliations of this model. Using the blue as a contrast on the flames, interesting choice, and it works.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure I'd have chosen to do black on the wings, given the amount of sheer red and gold that's on here, but it's a choice, and it definitely sort of gives a little bit of framing to the rest of the model in a way. A lot of detail on the base there, a lot of different colours and detail, giving it a lot of life on the base. Yeah, solid model.
I love everything about this, but my one thought was, is it just me, or does the sword, the blade of the sword, seem a little bit one tone? Or am I not seeing it?
That's pretty much what I was going to say on that one, John, to be honest. I think the base is really well done. I think it's very neatly done. It's very clean. The flames are really neatly executed. But overall, the model could really do with a little bit of shading or something. The sword is very, very flat, as is some of the areas of red. Just a little bit of tonal variation, and that would really help make this model pop a little bit more, especially on that sword, because it is quite flat.
Yeah. It looks like he'd be at home on the pages of a bright comic book.
It does, yeah. I just feel like it's missing. It's missing those final steps where you sort of shade it down a bit and highlight a few things.
Nice. It's a great job, though. The detailing there is just insane. Because
there's so much gold filigree on this model.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
And another set of purity seals without anything on them.
Yeah, I bet you. Riz, you'll say Bobby G has a lot to do, I bet.
Yeah, he is.
Cool. Next up is a Blood Angel who looks like he's been taken by the Black Rage.
Or in the throes of falling to it. This is such a solid, classic, iconic Blood Angel Space Marine sort of look to it. He's falling hard, he's coming at you. You know that he's not saying your name, he's saying Horus. Yeah. That's a really, really well done model. Lovely sculpt, the face, the expression for it, the pose.
And the freehand.
Yeah, brilliant. Very nice indeed.
Yeah, I really like this model. I think Is
that deliberately put half the shoulder pad in shadow on the raised shoulder pad with the chapter symbol? Is it painted that way, or is it just lit that way in the photo? Can't quite tell.
I
think a bit of both. Bit of both there. It's painted that way, and it is that way. The freehand on this is spectacularly done. The non-metallics are really nicely done. They're subtle, but they're done really, really well. The lightning effect on the little knife looks great. And I love the color scheme, and he's tied really nicely into his base. The only real sort of like areas that I could pick at are the face seems a bit flat, but I think that might be the photo blowing it out.
It could be, yeah.
It looks like light, yeah.
Yeah, it could be the photo just blowing that out a little bit and losing some of that detail. But from looking at it as it is, I think the face could do with it just a little bit more going on there, because it just looks a bit too one colory. Considering the quality of the freehand and that around it, I think it's the face that's letting it down just a little bit. Yeah, but otherwise, this is a really, really special model.
Yeah. If somebody was to ask what is a Blood Angel, this picture would be a good answer to that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Sure. Okay. Dante number 4. Now this guy looks pretty crisp. And he apparently has the head of some Nid Beastie on his base as well.
That's half a head of a Carnifex, I think. I know that because I was trying to source similar bits of beasties for my base. The Dante base as it is looks very empty to me, with just the little bit of rock that he's standing on. I wanted something extra to put on the base of mine, so I appreciate that in this one. The blood coming out of it, soaking into floor, looks cool. I love the gold. I think from looking at the way the gold shines on this on a couple of different angles, that's not highlighting. I think that's the finish and the light that it's being photographed with picking up. And I quite like that personally, rather than the painted on highlights of where you're saying this is where the light has fallen, rather than letting the light fall and shine up as more natural highlights. Solid power axe. Yeah, brilliant Dante. Very good.
There's not much I can say on this that I don't like. Go for it, Tony. Wait, you must have a nitpick, right?
I tried to go through every model actually and pick out a couple of things that I liked and something that I would pick at.
Okay.
Does it look a little bit off center?
He is a little bit off center, but that's just the way it is. This means you've got a bit more space for the goopy Tyranid on the front there. Which I think looks quite cool. I think the armor's very well done. Unlike Mark, I think that is painted. There's some really cleverly, neatly done highlighting on there.
If it is, then brilliant.
It's really well done. The axe is excellent. The base is really nicely done. I like the contrast in the finishes as well. You've got some areas that are quite a matte finish, and then you've got some sort of glossy finishes as well. So you've got contrast in not just tone, but also in finish as well, which is really good to see. The cloak is neatly done, as is the red on the shoulder pad and the white areas as well. The only sort of nitpicky area that I had for this one, looking at my notes, was you can't see so much in this picture, but when you go to the other picture, the face is a little bit messy, and I think that's letting it down. And you've sort of got this kind of Y-shaped highlight on the face in silver, and it just looks a little bit stark, and it kind of looks like he's headbutted a hard wall or something and scratched just that bit on his face. And there's a couple of other areas which similar sort of like just that little bit neater would have really finished this off. But again, I'm super nitpicking on this because the overall effect is brilliant, and with those metallics as well, he's really going to pop on the tabletop. So I like that a lot.
Okay, let's move on to our librarian. Trying to think, librarian in Terminator armor.
Yeah.
Elementor's librarian in Terminator armor.
Is that what the colouring is? Cool. Yeah, looks really good. The blue doesn't do it for me personally. I prefer slightly more sort of bold and vibrant blue. This one looks like it's sort of slightly more Space Wolfy blue, which I appreciate the choice for. It's well executed. The highlights are solid. The edge highlights don't really stand out too much, which says they've been done pretty expertly. The red on the hand in contrast and matching the red on the blade of his axe is very clever choice like that. He's got a bit of scroll work on his scrolls there on his leg, I see. So I'm sure Tony will say something about that, or maybe not, that I haven't done it, and the book at the top. Yeah, very cool model.
It's a simple paint job, executed very cleanly and very well. There's some clear nods to go into color theory with this. You're really looking at trying to desaturate it, and I think that's what Mark was getting at with the blue armor, and that looks really nice. The scroll work is excellent. The shoulder pad looks great. It looks like a molded Lamentor's shoulder pad, but I don't think those checks are molded, and they look really, really well done. The yellow really pops and is done expertly with some really fine highlighting on it as well. That's really quite nice. Nitpicky areas, I think the red on the axe does look cool, but I'd like to see a little bit more contrast on it. So maybe bringing in some darker shades as well would make that pop just that little bit more. And the face is a little bit messy for me. It looks like you spent loads and loads of time on the rest of it, really making it look really clean. And then the face is just looking a little bit messier, and I don't know.
I got to thinking whether that might be a style choice for something the Power had done to the librarian inside there.
Potentially, yeah.
The face looks really wrought.
Yeah,
like he's been through it.
The highlights, there's a bit too much contrast going on there. And I did wonder if, because you've got kind of a grimdark thing going on with this, that's beautifully tied into the base. It looks like you've been doing some pigments and that, and you've run those up the legs, and they look great. But yeah, it's just that face doesn't quite fit the model for me.
The eye doesn't get drawn to the base, but when you take the time to look at it, it's very nice.
Very well done, yeah.
Yeah, I thought maybe the face was a choice, like it was supposed to be like he's deathly or something. I don't know. Okay. Number 21, another librarian. I have to think of a Primaris librarian. I think I wanted to say this first angle was a terrible angle for taking your foe. I felt like that was. I didn't see enough of the model in this.
Leaning slightly from that angle.
I was going to say,
if that's the model or whether he's posed that way on the base. can't quite
Yeah,
tell.
I remember seeing this entry and thinking that like maybe this is just a bad camera angle, which I guess can happen, right? Okay, what do you think?
I love the purple. The purple over the blue works really, really well. Again, with a nice bold red shoulder pad on there. This guy stands out. You see him on the field. Desaturated base, I'm not sure would have been the choice I've done for it, but he does contrast very nicely against the base. I wouldn't have picked this color choice myself, but he really stands out. Definitely got a lot of personality to him. Tony?
I really like the blue, especially on the legs. You've got a really warm blue, which you don't see very often, but it works really, really well. I think that's really setting off against the purple robes. It's a unique color choice. You've got kind of a quite desaturated silvery gold color, and that looks really nice as well. This is definitely a unique color scheme, and I think the color scheme really works. If I was being a bit nitpicky, there's a couple of areas where you've been a little bit loose with the paintbrush. I think you could have tightened that up just a touch. On the sword, there's a couple of little slightly sloppy bits, and on the cloak as well, and around the face. And I think if you sort of tidied those bits up, you'd have a really good looking model, because you've got the fundamental kind of idea. You've got a real theme running through this. It's very dark. It's very moody. He's got this real aura of power around him, and that's fantastic. It's just tidying up those brush strokes and working on that brush control just that little bit more to finish it off.
Yeah, I think that when you're entering, I guess if someone's going to enter next year, make sure that like don't just. I feel like this is maybe like you. I don't know. I just hate this first camera angle.
The photos are not helping, are they?
This first camera angle is just a really bad angle. Games Workshop always talk about it on their site that like every miniature has like a few golden angles. So like maybe he was, maybe you take the photo and think this is the best angle, but take a few more and try different angles because I think that
it bugs a little bit. I mean, after you spend so much time painting a model, you think you shouldn't have to be an expert at photography as well, but annoyingly, you kind of do.
Yeah. You do need to. Okay, next up is White Sanguinius.
The converted helmet, which is a bold choice. The wings on the helmet, they look good, but you zoom in a little bit, do they look a little bit too heavy compared to the rest of his head? But he's a Primarch, he can carry all that sort of shit anyway.
You can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, very stark, very cool. Slightly reposed sword on there, looks nice. Obviously, most people follow the workshop thing and paint Sanguinius gold because Sanguinius is gold, but no, it looks like it's got kind of I don't know, like his armor's in an ivory sort of finish.
Yeah, that would be adequate. Yeah, it's like an ivory armor. Yeah.
And there's not going to be mistaking him for anybody else's model. He's absolutely unique. And yeah, cool. Very like it. I've just noticed that the cat on his shoulder pad's been done in black rather than the usual leopard one. So he's what, a panther or jaguar or something?
I think it would be
Getting
either or, I guess.
White armor, yeah. Tony?
I think the conversion's been done really neatly. The giving him a sort of Primaris style helmet is a design choice. It's interesting. I think it's very cleanly done, and I really appreciate that. I like the bone armor. I think that's very unique. Yeah, I've not seen it done before, but I really like it, and I think it contrasts really well with the red of the gems and that on him, and I think the black of that big cat on his back looks great as well with that. Picking at it a little bit, I think that to get the effect, it looks like you've quite heavily washed it, and it's left the armor looking just a little bit. Yeah, it looks like you've washed it down and then dry brushed it back up, and I think that's left it looking a little bit messy. Especially on the flat areas of the thigh and on this kind of the scale mail areas, you've got kind of quite dark. And I feel like maybe dry brushing that detail out you might have got a nicer effect if you'd glazed it rather than dry brushing it. But overall, it's a cool effect and it's a cool looking model.
Yeah, someone in chat says this is now the favorite Sanguinius they've ever seen, and I can see why. Next up, I guess we've got Calistaras from Space Hulk.
It's the old Space Hulk Calistarius.
Indeed.
Yes.
You kind of got to skip on to the next picture to see the whole of it, really, don't you?
Yeah, this one blew my mind a little bit when I saw it, because obviously I got this first picture, and then I got the second picture, and I was like, I don't know, and because I've been correlating all the entries into that point, and I just sort of like looked at this was like, all right, my paint jobs just suck, don't they?
I can't remember who did it, but I have seen this shown off a little bit on the Blood Angel Discord, and I think the guy who did it showed it off in a frame, lit as well, with some mood lighting going on, just to show off the whole demon tyrannid bug taint going on around him as he steps out there. And this is just wow. This is amazing. I love it. I want it. I could never do that. I
couldn't do that either. The writing on the book is so small as well. It's ridiculous. Like, he's got like 20 lines on that book. That book is like 1 centimeter high.
Yeah. I just scrolled in. I just zoomed in on the scroll work on his leg as well, and similarly amazing.
All right, let's see what Tony can pick on this one. This will be interesting. What you got?
It's a really spectacular paint job, this, isn't it? It's made doubly so when you think about the model, and all of my nitpicks about the Blood Angels Terminators applies to this, if not worse. When you actually get the model in your hand, the detail is not all that crispy. There's some really fat bits on it. It looks great, but it's an absolute pig to paint well. And this has done a beautiful. This person's done a beautiful job on it. I really like the little points on the highlights. They really draw the eye. It looks really, really clean. I like the way you've gone. You put a little bit of purple into the shadows, and you've brought that up to kind of a pinky red, but you've not lost too much of the saturation while you've done that. I think that's really, really nice. I think the power axe looks really nice. And in fact, to be honest, I can't really fault Calistarius himself. I am going to nitpick, though, because I said I was going to have a nitpick on everybody, and it's the frame. And I think the frame is really cool, but it's just a bit much. It's a bit busy. And because it's so busy, there's so many little tyrannidy pustules and things coming through the walls there. The eye doesn't really know where to look, and it kind of blends together in a bit of a blob. And I just think that if you'd trimmed like a chunk all the way around frame-wise, so it was just a little bit of that around the doorway, I think the overall picture would have been improved.
Yeah, that's possibly fair to say.
I disagree. I think the impact of him just being a little librarian, walking out onto this plinth surrounded by horrible warpy demon shit, I think the impact is designed to be what it is, and I love it for that.
Okay, I can see what Tony's saying. Sorry, was there anything else, Tony?
No, really, that was it. It was just that sort of big mass of pink around the outside, I think, detracts from what is a spectacular paint job on Calistarius himself.
Awesome. All right, we're moving on to Death Company Intercessor, is it?
I think so.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it's Primaris. Okay, I had to think about that for a minute. Death Company Intercessor.
Yeah, nice solid job. I absolutely detest edge highlighting because I'm horrible at it. You've done a really good job picking out the stuff here. It's very bright edge highlighting. The red and the gold contrast well against the black, but it's the white or the grey or whatever it is doing the edge highlighting on the black that continues to pull my eye on this. Tony?
So you've got a little bit of Tromarine with this, and that's always a cool style. You've got nice loads of edge highlights all over it, and that's really sort of making it stand out. The color selection is really nicely done. It looks good together, and you've got really nice, crisp, clean, free-handed crosses on there, which I think can be quite difficult to do, and you've done that really nicely. Criticisms-wise, it's just working on those edge highlights a little bit. They're a little bit thick, and some of them are a little bit messy. And then trying to get a little bit of separation between sort of the areas of ribbing on the undersuit and the armor plates themselves. So just trying to work on a little bit of separation. So getting a little bit more contrast in there, and then just practicing your brush skills a little bit with your edge highlighting to make them just that little bit thinner and that little bit crispier is going to help push this to the next level.
I was going to say, sorry,
the base might be. I think the base could possibly use something else. I'm not too sure what exactly.
Yeah,
I think it could use something else.
I was going to say, he doesn't feel as settled in the base as he could. And honestly, this character looks like my edge highlighting when I've edge highlighted them. I then spend a good half an hour on every model with a black, or with whatever colour, in this case, Death Company, it would be black, building up towards the edges to just narrow and fine those lines. And it would be very easy to do that, like on the feet here, and just you'd honestly make the model look just a little bit sharper. So, cool. 25 of 27. We have another Blood Angels Terminator in Librarian Terminator armor. Sorry,
Librarian Terminator armor. Yeah. Looks great. The color of the basing against the color of the armor itself makes him stand out really nicely. The blue's done well. The edge highlights on it are sort of subtle and work very well on it. The red looks good. Looks very sort of leathery rather than bright red on the cape on the back there. I like the white on the little loincloth with the gold edging. That, again, also works quite well in the contrasts. My nitpicky bug on this would be, I love that you've done the bolted drilling on the barrels. It looks like they're slightly off-center and slightly different sizes, and that catches my eye, draws me to it, and makes me think, not too sure about that one. Face is good. The book on top is good. Yeah, good model.
I like how he settled into the base so well. The base is really interesting. I wasn't sure if this was a custom base, or not, I guess. But I liked it a lot, and I also really liked the cloak, like the backside of the cloak and the back of the model. This just felt very iconic Terminator vibe for me. So I like this one a lot. And it's funny, this is like the
scratch-built base, I think.
Yeah, I think it is scratch built with
lots of little
skulls
bits I can
and
identify
ammo
from in
clips
there.
and stuff.
But it all looks very naturally sort of stacked around itself.
Yeah.
Tony?
I think you've got a really nice, deep, rich blue there. And you've nicely blended it in with the edge highlights, which I like to see. The freehanding on the bolter and on the book is really, really well done.
Is that freehand?
And overall, it's generally fairly cleanly done as well. There are a couple of points that I did notice where you've sort of slipped with a brush. It's more on the back of the model. And then I think with the red cloak, I would like to see a little bit more separation between the two layers. So maybe just darkening down where they overlap, because at the moment they're the same tone. I think that could help separate them out a little bit. Other than that, the other area, looks like you've really heavily washed this model, and that's helped with your blend, but it's also left the base looking a little bit glossy. And I think just matting down the base a little bit would help it, or just lean into it and let that base be wet. Maybe put some sort of wet effects and things on there as well. But at the moment, your brownish wash that you've used on there has left it a little bit glossy, which I don't think is helping so much. But yeah, I love the blue.
Okay. Our penultimate entry is, I guess, a Vanguard veteran on a custom sort of slight stand with a custom
mace and a custom shield and a custom jetpack, and
I think this is a full 3D printed model, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. The only thing I could see on it that I could recognise as possibly GW is the sort of the studded shoulder pad.
Yeah, that's true.
He's another solid Blood Angel, frankly. The red looks good. The individual panels are well defined. The shield work looks lovely. I do like the shield an awful lot. Not quite sure what's going on in the middle of the mace there. I don't know if that's what's meant to be in the middle of the mace, but either way, I wouldn't want to be hit by it. The base effect on the marble's always difficult to do, and that sort of shines him off really, really well. Yeah, great model. Tony?
it's a cool model. I really like it. The shield looks amazing. I'm really impressed with that. Overall, it's very clean. It's very crisp and well defined. I really like that. The base is done really, really well as well. I think that looks great.
It's got sort of Spartan kind of feel to it.
It does, yeah. The only thing for me is it's a little bit boring. I don't mean that. The model itself is fantastic. It's a great model, and the shield looks amazing. But something on the other shoulder pad, like a Blood Angels logo or something, because at the moment there's a lot of red that's not really broken up by a lot. And because you've gone with quite a toned down color scheme, which I think looks great, I just feel you've got some big flat areas that are begging for maybe some transfers or a bit of battle damage or something just to break up that red and elevate that just a little bit more.
Okay. And then that gives us on to our final entry, I think. And it would, of course, be another Dante. People are just making fun of me at this point for not having Dante still, right?
Yeah. Well, you've been the Blood Angel commander for a few years now, and you not having Dante yet is a point of shame, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is a point of shame. Okay.
He looks like he's falling back off the base a bit, which is
interesting.
A choice I personally like, but it seems to work for him in the context of the base and the display and what's going on. Really bright. I can't tell if that's near non-metal metallic yellow or gold. Either way, it looks like the sun's shining off really, really brightly. I like the desert choice for the base going on behind it. A little bit of red soaking into it. The axe is really nicely done. Yeah, he's blinding, isn't he? Great effect. Tony?
Yeah, this one's very unique. Thank you so much for the membership, Zachary. On you go, Tony.
I think the axe is really well done. I think the beautiful saturated color in there. The color, I think, is being thrown off because it looks like you've got the contrast setting on your camera really, really high and the saturation set really high. And I think that's thrown off some of the colors a little bit. You've had a good crack at non-metallic metal. I think your highlights are in mostly the right places, which looks really good. You need, I think, one more step in your non-metallic metal. So you've pushed it up to yellow. But like Mark said, he couldn't tell if it was supposed to be yellow or if it's supposed to be gold. I don't think that's being helped by the contrast setting on the camera. But also, to get it gold, you need to push it just that bit closer to white to get that gold effect from the yellow effect. But it's really cleanly done. It's really neatly done. Everything's very well defined. The white with the little bit of blue in the shading looks really nicely done as well. I like the colourful base. I think that looks good. And like I say, I think the axe is really well done as well. So it's just taking that non-metallic one more step if you want it to look gold, and then working on your photography a little bit because I think your camera is doing something or trying to do something clever here, and it's not helping your model.
Either way, though, centerpiece to be proud of.
I was going to say, and someone else picked a decapitator, and it seems to be a... I mean...
Oh, the
Carnifex heads come in two halves, so they're
perfect for putting on.
They're a perfect choice for like putting half down. Yeah,
nice. Okay, cool. So that is all 27 entries that we got this year. So thanks everyone that entered, because I guess if we didn't have people enter, then I guess there would be no competition to have. Thanks again to Brett for putting the prizes together. Right, I am going to find the link with everybody who entered. I have it here in a text file. Just open this on my other screen so nobody can see it. And then if you guys tell me your favorite three, do you want to start with you, Mark?
Yeah.
And then what we'll do is once we've got your favorite three, we'll get Tony's favorite three. Then we'll just literally put those three names down. Thank you so much for the gifted subs. We're going to hear a lot of Donna Ward Dreadnoughts for the next minute, and from that, then we'll randomly pick the two winners. So I want to note that you guys don't know whose entry. Like you just know the numbers of the entries, right?
Yep, that is exactly right.
So, Mark,
There were
what are your
9 that I
favourite
picked
3?
out that I liked, and 3 of them in particular quite handily stood out to me by having the sort of wow reaction on seeing them and looking into them a bit deeper. The first one was the Mephiston that was number 4.
Number 4 at Mephiston, okay.
The second one that I adored was the Redemptor that was number 5.
Oh yeah, a Redemptor with hazard stripes in the weather. Nice.
And the third one was the huge Calistarius diorama with all the Chaos Niddy bits all around it.
Oh cool, what number was that?
23.
23. I don't know if I can spell Calistarius. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. I'm sure that's spelled wrong.
Of course I'm going to judge you. That's what I do.
Alright, Tony, what were your favourite 3?
Okay, so the 3 that I've picked out for your delectation are number 10, the Centurions.
Oh, right on.
Yep.
Centurions.
I really like those. I loved how clean they were.
Good choice.
Number 18, which was the little Marine with the beautiful freehand on him.
Yep.
He was the Space Marine hero, wasn't he? The guy with the knife.
I don't know who he was, but he was great.
Hold on.
And then lastly, number 19, the Dante.
Do you know what? I know who painted that. You're going to know who painted that Dante in a minute, actually. Okay.
Good, cool. Well, we've made our picks clear, so it's all good.
Yeah, I believe this guy here was a Space Marine hero. I didn't know what model he was either.
Yeah.
But somebody, I think in chat, it might have been Regiel actually, said that this was a Space Marine hero, which makes sense.
People have been saying stuff in the chat. Remember, Mark and I can't see the chat.
Yeah,
I mean, you've made your picks now. You're more than welcome to turn the chat back on now. Thank you so much.
So we don't know if anybody's been sending us stuff in the chat because we haven't been able to see it.
All right, so these are these are essentially the shortlists, I guess, right? And then I'll pull over my document that has everybody with number onto the screen as well, so everyone can see that. So this is all. I wanted to make it like so Mark and Tony don't know whose is who. So we'll just fill in the numbers. So number 4, the Mephiston, was by Liz Jenkins. Number 5, the Redemptor, was by Cody Reed. Everyone's coming into the super chats now. Thank you so much, guys.
War Thunder donated $5 via super chat.
23 was
Protectors
Steve
of
Thomas.
Humanity.
I mean, Centurions were done by Terry Bonner. The Space Marine Hero was done by Tobias. I'm not going to try and pronounce your last name, Tobias, sorry. And number 19 was done by Anton. I guess I'm also going to not butcher his last name. So that is our winners. So yes, sorry, if anyone wanted to see the full list of
I think you're going to post those in the chat.
I'll put them into Discord. I'll put them into video description.
Stick them as a pinned comment at the top of the list, which is the names of the different entries that go on there. I think would be the easiest way.
True, and I can probably also share the PDF of this document because it doesn't really matter. So we're going to roll twice then, real quick. The first roll will be Mark's 3. The second roll will be Tony's 3. We're just going to do a random number. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So the winner of the first 3, so this will be for Mark, is number 1. So it's Liz Jenkins, and congratulations. I'll email you, so you won't have to do anything.
Absolutely well deserved. That was a phenomenal paint job.
Oh, God,
I was going to say that Mephiston was amazing, yes. And then for Tony's 3, 1, 2, 3, it is number 2. So it's our Space Marine Hero by Tobias. So awesome. Well done. Congratulations, you guys. I will email you both.
Absolutely well done.
We'll get a $50 Games Workshop voucher sent out to you wherever you are in the world. We'll sort that out. Thanks everyone for entering. Tony and Mark, thank you as always for joining us, doing the judging. And now Mark has prepared a plug for Thursday night Scrot's live stream.
Have I bollocks? So, yeah, Thursday, we're going to be on 3 Grots and a Vox. We're going to be live, the 3 of us. We're going to be talking as much shit as we possibly can about everything we know by then. which was, if the schedule is holding, and it seems to be holding so far, will be all of the data sheets for every faction, but we won't know the points as yet by then. So I imagine we'll probably be going through the Space Marine data sheets in some level of detail. We're probably going through the Blood Angels ones in some level of detail. And I imagine we'll go through as many of the other ones as we can, load up in decent time and talk about that are interesting. We'll take all your questions as we go. If you're a Patreon for the 3 Grots or a supporter for the 3 Grots and a member on YouTube, then you get to do your super chats for them. You get to ask questions on the Patreon and we'll answer them on stream. And yeah, that's largely our plan, to talk shit about all of the index rules for all the factions that you could possibly want to hear our opinions of, given that we still, at that point, probably don't know the points yet.
I was going to say, what's so the rumor is what day is all the indexes coming out?
Rumor has it, which has been proven accurate so far. All the other non-compliant Space Marine chapters on Monday. So that'll be Blood Angels, Space Wolves, Death Watch, blah 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 blah. Chaos on Tuesday. The rest of the Imperium on Wednesday, and the Xenos stuff on Thursday.
Perfect.
And then
all right.
And GT chapter approved stuff on Friday. Apparently.
Cool. So it's going to be a busy week. There'll be content here. There'll be content on the 3 Grots. Guys, thank you so much to everybody that entered tonight. And thanks to everyone that came and watched the live stream.
It was absolutely amazing paint jobs.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Like, really, really stunning.
Yeah.
Would love to see them all in the showcase channel on the Blood Angels Discord. That would be awesome.
Yeah. By all means, I'll share the PDF in the showcase channel anyway, so people can have a look at it, and I'll share the names. I'll put that in there as well. I guess that's us for another year. Thanks again to Brett for making this happen, and thanks to everybody that came and watched.
Yeah, Brett, you're awesome. Thanks everybody.
Appreciate
See
it.
you guys on a few days, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll definitely be live this week. So Thursday night will be the next time you can catch the 3 of us, and it should be a fun stream on Thursday. Maybe I'll even drink on Thursday.
Ask all the awkward questions on Thursday.
Yeah. All right.
It depends how well
Good
Monday
night.
goes. He might still be drunk.
That's true. Or burying his sorrows, one of the two.
Yeah.
All right. I'll see you guys then.
Bye-bye,
Thanks
everybody.
again.
Doodles.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Good night.